Chapter 25. Human hunters increase the heat. While held in prison in Honduras, Diego had learned from an older gang member how to ink crude gel-type tattoos using a sharpened paperclip and shampoo mixed with black ash. In San Francisco, he upgraded his gear to include a used tattoo gun that he bought at a shop in the Mission. Early into his career as a government informant, a 20th Street member named Fantasma asked him to tattoo an M on his right arm and an S on his left arm in Gothic font, which Diego did. From Santini's perspective as an agent, the good thing about Diego's role as a tattoo artist for the clique was that it gave him more credibility with the gang. Beyond that, it gave him additional opportunities to sit down with individual gang members for extended, uninterrupted periods. During the tedious hours it took to ink a homie with a tattoo design, Diego had a perfect chance to probe the gang members' knowledge of specific crimes. When the U.S. Attorney's Office in San Francisco first found out about Diego giving a tattoo to Fantasma, the situation raised a big red flag. In any criminal trial down the road, a savvy defense lawyer could argue that Diego was creating gang members by permanently marking them with MS-13 symbols. It was a fine legal line for Diego to walk between just being one of the homies on one hand and future allegations of entrapment that could possibly torpedo any prosecution on the other. Under U.S. law, two tests existed for determining whether legal entrapment had occurred. The subjective test examined whether or not a defendant had a predisposition to commit a crime, while the objective test scrutinized the government's conduct, judging if the actions undertaken by a police informant or their informants would have caused an otherwise normally law-abiding person to commit a crime. After reviewing the potential legal pitfalls of Diego inking tattoos on gang members, Nelson Wong, the assistant U.S. attorney working with Santini, advised the agent that Diego could go ahead and ink away. The prosecutor concluded that the 20th Street homies already had a clear predisposition to get themselves tattooed with MS-13 symbols with or without Diego. The night after the Minutemen protest outside City Hall, 5 20th Street homies were driving in a car through the Mission, out on a honey trip, including Guerrero, age 17, Momia, 18, Domenico, 22, Duende, juvenile, and Pistolito, juvenile. 4 hours earlier, Pistolito's uncle was shot as he stood next to the Tonoyis taco truck in the Mission. The hunters assumed a Norteño had done it. Somebody was going to pay. At the corner of Persia Avenue and Lisbon Street, 2 blocks off Mission Street, they spotted 3 young Latinos standing together, a female and 2 males, including 14-year-old Ivan Miranda. A half hour earlier, Miranda had received a phone call from a girl standing next to him, Natalie Linares. She wanted to borrow his iPod. Miranda requested his dad's permission to meet Linares a couple blocks away from their home. His father said he could go. Miranda met up with Linares along with her boyfriend, Alejandro Flores. The 5 young hunters from 20th Street stopped their vehicle and got out. Guillermo, Duende, Momia, and Pistolito crossed the street toward their prey, while Domenico stayed next to the car, acting as a lookout. Pulling out their blades, Momia and Pistolito surrounded Flores, pressing knives against his stomach and back, while Guillermo and Duende positioned themselves the same way on the other side of Miranda. "What you claim?" Momia said to Flores. "I don't bang," Flores said. "Give me your player," Momia said. He pulled the earbuds hanging from Flores' neck and followed the wire to an MP3 player inside his shirt pocket, snatching it away. Momia started to search Natalie Linares' clothes for valuables. "Where's your cell phone?" he said. "Get away from me," she said, pushing him. "I'm pregnant." "You shouldn't be checking me," Flores said to Guillermo. "I know you." "Where's your iPod?" Duende said to Miranda. He reached into Miranda's pocket and snatched the device away. With the knife held to his back, Flores saw Duende stab Miranda in the arm. Miranda pushed his attacker away and started to run, leaving a trail of blood on the sidewalk as he fled. Guillermo pulled out a Japanese sword concealed under his jacket. He and Duende chased after the injured, terrified Miranda. They caught up with him at Madrid Street after a sprint of nearly 100 yards, with Miranda bleeding profusely all the way. Guillermo ran the sword into Miranda's neck once, but it hit something hard and got stuck. He pulled it back out and tried again. This time it went clear through, in one side and out the other. Duende plunged his knife into Miranda's chest. The victim arched his body. His feet reflexively came together as he stood there upright for a moment before collapsing to the sidewalk. He closed his eyes as the blood drained from his body all over the pavement. His breathing grew irregular, shallow, then stopped. Guillermo and Duende ran from Miranda's body to meet back up with Momia and Pistolito. They alerted the homies about what they had just did, and the four of them ran away together toward Mission Street, leaving Flores and Linares uninjured. Domenico followed the four escaping homies in the getaway car and picked them up a short way down the road. The hunting party sped away. Flores and Linares ran up the street to see what had happened to Miranda. They found him lying on the sidewalk, gashes in his neck, blood everywhere. Flores lifted his shirt and saw his chest wound. Linares tried to apply pressure to stop the bleeding, but it was too late. He was already dead. As the sun rose that morning, Cabrera received a phone call about the Miranda killing. He immediately contacted Santini's team and asked them to put Diego to work to see what he could find out about the murder. Santini's strategy, since fairly early in the operation, had been for Diego to maintain distance between himself and Tigre based on the U.S. Attorney's concern that their informant might exert too much influence on the gang's leadership. While the approach somewhat limited Diego's access to the gang's leaders, his close contact with the younger members, such as the five who attacked Miranda and his friends, made him privy to an alternative body of intelligence from the lower ranks. The HSI agents wired up Diego and sent him to dig for dirt on the Miranda murder. It didn't take Diego long to find four of the five youngsters hanging out at Mission Playground, still amped up from their twisted party the night before. He suggested they all go to Duende's house so Diego could continue to work on the homie's tattoo of a clown holding a gun. Leaning over Duende's bare back, Diego switched off his buzzing tattoo gun so its noise wouldn't interfere with the hidden wire he was wearing. "So what happened?" he said, asking the homies for details about the attack. "We stabbed the son of a bitch," Guillermo said. "I had like a Chinese-style sword, dog. What makes me laugh is how he went down. He even closed his legs, then dropped dead like this. Look." Duende held his back, grotesque, snickering long enough to mimic the surprised dying victim, as if it were a slapstick cartoon character or an actor in a campy silent film. Momia was talking about Flores and eager to add the details of his own involvement in the glorious revenge attack on the Norteños, while the myth was still being formed, lest it be forged into gang legend without his name including the bright lights. "The knife I had, crazy," Momia said. "I just went like this and it went in by itself. I just went like this, crazy. Look, I didn't even do it like this. And shit, it went in by itself, dog. And Pistolito turned around and he got him in the ribs." Diego thought what Momia was telling him was pure bullshit, just a punk trying to get unearned street creds. From what he had been briefed about the incident, Diego knew that Flores had not even been stabbed. "So the girl recognized you?" Diego said. "The guy that you guys stabbed last night recognized you?" These dudes fucked up," Duende said. He was talking about Momia and Pistolito, because all they did was take the dude's MP3 player and slightly stab him, Flores. "And the guy recognized me. He's out with the narcs right now. The fucker tried to get smart with me, dude," Guillermo said, referring to Miranda. "I even took his iPod." "Boom," said Guillermo. "I stabbed him. It got stuck and it went in and out here. Then this dude stabbed him," he said, pointing to Duende. "Both of us crazy, in and out here, homeboy." He pointed to his own neck to demonstrate the spot where he had thrust the sword into Ivan Miranda. "La Mara Salvatrucha rules," Guillermo said. "Look here," he added. "I got $80 for the iPod." The youthful hunting party was screwed. Having blabbed and bragged about killing Ivan Miranda was Diego's secret microphone was recording every word they said. SFPD detectives soon obtained arrest warrants based on the recordings, as well as eyewitness testimony from Linares and Flores. They rounded up all five of them and took them into custody and charged them with homicide. Within days, an article was published by Jackson Van Der Beeken, the San Francisco Chronicle's police and courts reporter of several years, providing background on Guillermo. In the article, the reporter described how Guillermo basically fit the poster. In the article, the reporter described how Guillermo basically fit the poster child profile of San Francisco's sanctuary city policy gone bad. Like the by then widely publicized case of Popeye, Guillermo had been arrested as a juvenile for violent gang activity in the city stemming from an incident a year earlier. Guillermo and another MS-13 gangbanger put a 16-year-old kid in the hospital. It was the standard MS-13 MO. They approached the unsuspecting victim, asked him what gang he claimed, then beat the shit out of him. When he was arrested for that earlier attack, Guillermo, who was from Honduras, pled guilty before a San Francisco juvenile court judge and was put on probation in order to live with his parents in Houston. Within a year, Guillermo was back on the streets in San Francisco, free to kill. An SFPD spokesperson told reporters the police department thought Guillermo was in the country illegally now, but the department hadn't reported him to ICE because he would have been in violation of the city sanctuary policy. Ivan was a kid. Miranda's sister, who was known as Little Mijo, told Dan Durkin he didn't have anything to protect himself with. If they wanted to take an iPod, why should they kill him? I don't understand that part. Little Mijo said she knew Guillermo as a troublemaker at Mission High School, where he was expelled for delinquent behavior. She said that youths like him should be deported from the United States. They should be arrested, she said. They're only doing bad things. Ivan was only 14 years old. They are 16, 17, 18. That's bad. They should be deported to their country.